Hi, I'm Jeff Cialetti, Editor-in-Chief of Craft Spirits Magazine, and welcome to Craft Spirits TV. I'm in Morristown, New Jersey at Dismal Harmony Distillery. Dismal Harmony took Best in Show for its Vidisha's Masala liqueur at this year's ACSA Spirits Competition, and I caught up with founder Bob Dillon to talk a bit about that.
We're New Jersey. We're cynical. You know what I mean? Like we'd rather be surprised positively than negatively. So when we let our imagination run wild, Best in Class was about as far as we got. We would have been thrilled with gold. But then you get there and you see like, oh my God, that's right, you know, these amazing companies are here and they've all entered something, and like, wow, like better dial it back. And we won 3 barrelheads. You know, in the first year we won 3 barrelheads. I'll tell you what my first actual thought was. What the hell am I going to do next year? it scares me a little bit, because now I've got at the tasting afterward in the evening, I had people coming up to me and congratulations. It's a great group. You know, and very sincere and heartfelt congratulations, and people tried it and they enjoyed it and all that. But I'd have people coming up to me, tap me on the shoulder and say, I want to introduce myself. It's like, I know who you are. Like, why do you know who I am? You know, there's some amazing distillers, there's some amazing people in this industry that I've looked up to for a long time that are now, you know, talking, you know, it's imposter syndrome is pretty strong. The ACSA, you know, you get back the tasting notes and you talk to people and you go in and you taste yours against other people, and how else do you learn? How else do you improve your product? How else do you interact with the industry? How else do you see what other people are doing? How else do you see where the category's going? You know, like one of the things I spent a lot of time talking to people about was distribution, because that's what I'm struggling with right now, is how do we self-distribute right now. We have no distribution right now. So there's a room full of people, hundreds of people that have gone through what I'm going through, some successfully, some not successfully, and they're both valuable stories to hear. I come from technology. What is it now? It's 35 years in technology. And how I got into distilling is I like doing things. I like doing things. I like understanding how things work. And if I see something and I don't know how it works, I want to know how it works. And I got into whiskey. It's like music. Like, you know, somebody or a group of people play their instruments and it's moving me emotionally. Like, and they have no idea who I am and I don't know them, but they're moving me emotionally. And whiskey's like that. Spirits are like that. Cocktails are certainly like that. And when you think about whiskey in particular, it's like that comes out of a seed. How? And so I set off to understand how it came out of a seed, and one thing led to the other. And what I really found out is I love liqueurs. And so I did a real deep dive on liqueurs. And what really cemented it for me was my wife and I, when we were thinking about opening the distillery, went to our favorite packaged goods store, and we kind of sat in the aisle and looked up and down, and you know, you say, we got to fit in here. How? Where? How are we going to get off the shelf? How are we going to get on the shelf? Well, if you're going to go into the market, you got to bring something to the market. But we get a lot of interest because we're local. And that scares me, quite honestly, because that's charity. If you're not doing something that somebody can't get anywhere else, then you're vulnerable, right? You know, that local only gets you so far. But if you do something that somebody can't get anywhere else, then you know, you got something. And with distilling, I think that's really hard, because I think the big guys largely do a good job. And when I look at the liqueur market, there's no great American liqueur brand. Craft distilleries make liqueurs, but they have a line of, you know, clear spirits, aged spirits, and they have a liqueur or two. Nobody has a liqueur brand, and that's what we want to be. We want to be the first great American liqueur brand. I was learning gin, and it clicked for me. There's a parallel, a connection between gin and food. You know, basically, there are these oils that are in plants, and they smell great and they taste great. And in cooking, you're taking them out of the plant, putting them in, you know, through water and putting them into the food. But in distilling, with gin in particular, you're taking those same oils out, but you're doing it by either dissolving it in alcohol or dissolving it in alcohol vapor. And then as I got into liqueurs, it's like really a connection between liqueurs and cooking, because it's all that extraction. But what led me from that point to Vidisha's was like, well, cooking is how we think about the flavors. You know, how we think about flavors is largely comes from, and there's ethnic cuisines that have sort of, you know, like you taste something, you say that's Italian, or you taste something, you say that's a Mexican dish, and that's because there are these herbs and botanicals and spices that are tied to that ethnic cuisine. My thought was, well, why couldn't we exploit those patterns? Because people are used to it. And the first place I started was India, because they make the most direct use of herbs and spices and botanicals and shit. Their stuff is just so flavorful. So anyway, I had a guy I worked with, Indian guy, and I asked if his wife would share a recipe with me, and she shared her family's masala. Her name is Vidisha, and that's hence Vidisha's Masala. Absolutely enter. I will definitely enter next year. I'm still thinking, like, what am I going to enter next year? And it's not going to live up to Vidisha. Let me just tell you straight up right now, it's not going to live up to Vidisha.
Thank you, Bob, and thanks all you for watching this edition of Craft Spirits TV. Catch you next time.